If you live in Scandinavia, cold outreach is your least of your problems, okay? Because it is almost never the real issue. It is not your script, it is not your targeting, and it is not even your volume. Because the truth is that most Scandinavian agency owners, they don't struggle because they can't get any positive replies. They struggle because the entire business model won't work in this market. They try copying what works in the US, but here clients are more skeptical, the people's trust are even lower, and undercharging is the norm because of the law of Jante. So even if or when your outreach really works, your business doesn't scale, which is kind of insane, right? And that's why in this video, I'm going to show you why your agency model is the exact reason you're not scaling and being profitable and enjoying and living your best life. Because if you want to work in this Scandinavian market, you need to change your model. And for context, I'm JP, I run Marketi, an email marketing agency based out of Denmark where we do 74,000 euros every single month. And a big part of doing that is adapting to the Scandinavian market and the rest of Europe and USA. Because what works in the US won't entirely work one-to-one in Europe. Now, the first problem is that you are selling exactly the same thing as everybody else, okay? In Scandinavia, that's a huge issue because most agencies will do this. They will offer, I handle your social media, I will run your ads, or I will do your content. Literally the exact same thing, and it's just being a commodity. And because of that, clients will compare you on these three things: price, trust, and risk. And since people in Scandinavia are a bit more risk averse, they do not choose easily compared to people in the US. They are more, they take risks over there, okay? So even if your outreach is good, your offer doesn't really stand out, which is why you have to undercharge or just take on clients you know are a bad fit. And speaking about pricing, okay? This is where Scandinavia is very different. Because we've been conditioned, especially if you're born and raised in Scandinavia, to not charge as much, to not stand out, and to not seem too confident and too ambitious and want something else. So what happens? You will price your service at 500, 1,000 euros every single month, even though you're doing a service that is literally so conservative to charge 3,000 euros per month for. So your value is so high, but you undercharge, and lowering your price doesn't make it easier for you. It actually makes it harder because, listen, clients take you less seriously. You need more clients to scale and your margins disappear. And now your agency can't scale even if your outreach works because your whole entire business model is just broke because you're not charging enough. And when you work with so many clients, your margin is fucked, you're working 80 hours per week and you just hate your agency's life in general. So stop underpricing, start charging more, okay? Be more confident. Law of Jante. Now, problem 3 is that your delivery is all depending on you. Because most agencies today is built on everything is manual, okay? Everything is custom and everything depends on you as the owner. Which means that you are getting way more clients, which is fine, but you're also adding to that stress and that pressure. And since hiring a Scandinavian person is really expensive, that means that one, obviously, way more expensive, right? Way more risky, and it's way more slow. So you will get stuck even though your outreach again is doing great, you keep bringing on way clients, you hit a ceiling and you just stay there and you just plateau. And obviously we don't want to do that, which leads me into this. If you're copying, you're especially copying the wrong market because most content online is made for the US agencies, okay? It is an aggressive sales culture, it is fast decision making, and it is high ticket offers, yada yada. But Europe and Scandinavia is way different because here trust matters way more than you think. Relationships takes longer to build, we are more risk averse, and people are just, more cautious about doing something with an online agency. In the US, completely different game. Way easier, but also more competitive. So when you copy, you get an aggressive approach, hyper-driven offers, and a pushy sales tactic. And that will backfire because in Europe and Scandinavia, we are just different, okay? It feels unnatural to us as Europeans. And then you might start to think, oh, this is a scam, this doesn't work, outreach doesn't work. When in reality, it is literally just your positioning, your mindset, and the business model that you run that doesn't work because that doesn't fit the market, okay? And you don't want to pitch clients like an American who just knows everything, just knows the language, but not the culture. So if you try to sell to Scandinavians, different culture, okay? Try to sell to a German or a French guy or a Dutch guy, completely different culture, okay? But if you just copy what they do in the US and they tell you to do, you're not gonna get success here. So if you want your agency to work in Scandinavia and really scale this, you need a clear outcome-based offer, not generic services. You need a pricing that reflects your value. You need a simple, systemized delivery, and then you need an acquisition approach that actually builds trust with your potential clients. And that is literally the difference that makes it between a struggling business and a scalable business. So now that I kind of, switch your positioning, switch your mindset, you need to understand this. You can switch the model, you can go to a business model, talked about this in a lot of other videos, right? That is just one thing, but fixing you where you are stuck, you need to do the work here, okay? Because you still need to figure out who to work with, what niche actually works in this market, and how to position your offering properly to the European or Scandinavian market. And if you want help with that, I teach people just like you how to do this specifically in Scandinavia and in Europe. And if you want to work with US clients, I can help as well. It is just that most content out there is only for the US people. Now, if you're not ready for that, I have a lot of free sources, so go and check in the description. There's a free school course. You can grab all my free guides and my frameworks, whatever you want. It's all there for free, and go and sign your first client. But before you do that, I have another video where you can watch right here, and that is the best way to pick a niche for an online B2B agency for 2026. So go and watch that. Thank you for watching this video, and peace.